Hi, I'm Stephanie Sage with Sage Restoration, and I have a special guest here with me today on my Sage Spotlight. It's the Dan Stalp.
Hi, everybody.
With Sandler Training. Actually, I'm really excited for you. You just celebrated, I actually put in my post 10 years, but 25 years.
It's been 25 years, yeah.
Wow.
I wasn't there the whole time, but yeah, it has been 25 years.
Okay, that's what I was kind of confused about.
Yeah.
When we went to your reception.
Yeah, I've been there, it'd be 14 years.
Okay.
And but the franchise itself that I purchased started 25 years ago.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you purchased it 25 years ago.
7 years ago.
So you got me really confused. Of course, that doesn't take
Let's
much.
just go at 25.
Yeah. Just keep it simple. But you spent a lot of years helping a lot of salespeople, business owners in Kansas City.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So what did you do prior to Sandler?
So, I graduated from college and I was programming computers and it just wasn't for me. And so,
You have too much personality.
I know,
think.
and everybody kept saying that. You're a programmer? I'm like, what? You know, because I was right out of college. How do you know? I didn't know what they looked like. So
Was that
anyway,
back in the day, this big stacks of cards?
It was right after that.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, in fact, I graduated from a small college up in Nebraska, and that was the first year that they didn't have the cards. So I never touched the cards.
I have to admit, I went to UMKC, and I took a probably called COBOL programming.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And I remember going to class with this stack of cards that printed like one sentence.
Yeah.
And if you dropped that stack of cards,
It had to have been painful. But the
Yeah.
year before me, they
Okay.
talked about it, but I never got to experience it, which I was kind of glad.
yeah.
So anyway, I did that and graduated, and it was okay, but it wasn't really my thing, and I was kind of hanging out with some of the younger salespeople. I'm like, that looks way more fun than
Yeah,
what I'm
you
doing.
would meet really cool people all
Yeah,
day.
so that's what kind of led me into getting into sales.
Okay.
So then after that, I was more on the insurance side. So
Okay.
primarily I was a benefits broker for almost 16 years.
Wow.
And so basically just the life and health and 401k and all the perks.
Yeah.
And that's when I got introduced to Sandler when I had my own firm. I went through the training myself.
Okay. So that made you a believer then. You were sold.
Yeah, I knew it worked for me. Yeah, you know, it's one thing when you know it works for you, and it's another thing when you transfer and
Right.
leverage it.
For me personally, I've been in sales my whole life, but I have to believe in what I'm selling. Because
Yes.
if I don't, I'm not good at it.
Yeah, I would
but if
agree.
I believe in it, I can be awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of like having one hand tied behind your back
Yeah.
if you don't believe it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So how did it help you? Were your sales stagnant at the time, and you just needed that extra boost to improve your
so what had
skills?
happened was we moved here from Omaha in late '93, and this was about early '95, and so I was trying to build a territory here. And, you know, ignorance is bliss. I mean, there's something about being
That's very
younger
true.
and just not knowing. Like if I had any idea what I was up against, I probably wouldn't have done it. But
Kind of like when I started my business
yeah,
9 years
and then
ago.
even when you do it
Like,
again,
hello.
you still don't know what you're. But
Yeah.
about a year and a half into it, it was just it was some heavy lifting, and I ran into Dick Brooks, who started the franchise 25 years ago. This will all start to make sense.
Okay.
So I was one of his first clients, and I just I was the only business partner that was actually down here. The rest were up in Omaha, so I was a little isolated, and I just needed some structure. You know, and as a programmer, you needed structure, but that wasn't my personality. But one good thing about all that programming was it just kind of burned into my brain that I can do it. And Sandler is a process, so having a process to help me do even better than I was already doing.
Okay. So it just helped knock your sales out of the window. But then you believed in Sandler so much that you decided to, I guess, get out of the insurance.
Yeah.
business
So
then?
if you talk to anybody in insurance, rarely, if ever, do they plan on being in insurance. I mean, it's always like a story, and that was for me too. I just kind of fell into it because my first job out of college happened to be in insurance, and I really liked it, but I just never saw myself like doing that till I retired.
Right.
I liked the sales part of it, but all the claims and the run rates and self-funding, it was a little, I didn't
Yeah.
enjoy that part.
Yeah.
But
a
I
lot of
love
people are like,
selling
oh,
stuff.
insurance, it's
Right.
insurance agent.
Yeah, and they are. And they said that they're that way with sales training too, so it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as you tell people what you do, they kind of take one step back, start to turn their foot this way, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people are, I don't know, just it isn't the right timing where they want to reach out for the help or what have you. And I want to interject here that if anybody who's watching has questions about Sandler Training or sales in general, or even growing a business, because you help business owners too.
I do.
I know I've worked with you before too.
Yeah,
So-
you can just type it in, I think, right? And
Oh,
she'll
yeah.
read it off to us, and
Yeah.
we'll see if it
Yeah,
works.
just
Yeah.
Let
just
us
like
know if you
that.
have questions.
Yeah, they're just rolling in, I'm sure.
Exactly. So, what are some of the key ways that Sandler? I mean, let me start back. So, is there a difference between a salesperson who works for a big corporation or even a small business versus a business owner? Are there different paths that you go down?
Yeah, so we primarily work in the business-to-business market. So meaning that they're calling on businesses, and that would represent, let's just call it 65 to 70% of our clients.
Okay.
And then the other 25 to 30% are what we call business to consumer. So they might be like a wealth advisor, or I'm trying to think, even insurance, not on a group basis, but individual basis. And the one thing that they kind of tend to have in common is there's a complexity to what they sell, and it's typically not a quick selling cycle.
The
Either
B2B,
one of them.
or
Because
any
even
of them.
like financial advisors, business to consumers, they sometimes have to meet with them 3 or 4 times before they pull the trigger, and because typically they have to fire someone and move their stuff over.
I know.
So it's more, it's not like a really long selling cycle, but let's just say at least 2 meetings, sometimes 4.
Yeah.
And so there's just more things that can happen. You know, kind of like if I was flying to New York City and I had 2 layovers versus a direct flight, there's a lot more things that can go wrong.
Right.
And it's more than 3 times.
Okay.
So with a longer selling cycle, there's just more things, more meetings, things that can go awry.
Right.
If you're not kind of following and doing what
Staying
you're
on
supposed
top.
to do.
Well, I know we work with a lot of realtors in Kansas. A lot of our work comes from realtors.
So commercial or residential?
Well, residential,
That
but
would
we
make
are
sense.
working on our
That makes sense.
more
because of
commercial realtors out there. We're looking for business. Yeah, we're trying to increase our commercial work. But I know that just some of the ones I know really well that go through some, like Keller Williams training. It's about being really disciplined
Yes.
in your follow-up.
Yeah.
Because the longer you don't get back to people, and I've been guilty of that myself, the longer it goes, kind of like collecting money.
That's right.
The longer it goes,
The less likely you're going to get it.
exactly.
Yeah.
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 So.
Yeah, so, that'd be real similar in just the fact that, and also just kind of determining, is this got any legs to it or not? You know, I think a lot of what happens with a lot of salespeople is they waste time. Not only just not getting back to people, but chasing people that just aren't going to work with them.
Just not qualifying them.
Yeah, not qualifying them. So, you know, that can help, you know, you get back to the people that really need you if we can kind of discern
Right.
who is really going to do something with us and who is it that I just have happy ears about and they're nice to me, so I think they're going to buy.
Yeah.
But they're mutually exclusive.
I was sitting there thinking, in our business, I mean, we pretty much are waiting around for something bad to happen to
Right.
somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
ours
yours
is
is
like,
different.
they need somebody like now, but then sometimes we do have to go out and bid against, you know, some competitors.
Yeah.
But usually people are going to make a pretty quick decision.
Yeah, I would
you
think
know.
in your business,
So
just
it's
getting
a little
them
bit
in the
different.
habit of calling you versus whoever they've been calling,
Yeah.
because just even with our training, when you're put under pressure, you tend to revert back. You know, like just even like if you've been on a diet, you're doing really well and you're eating well and you're exercising, and you get a little bit of stress, and all of a sudden you're right by the
Those
campfire.
potato chips
And
or
the potato
those
chips.
gummy bears are looking.
And a host of other things. But it's really just kind of getting in the habit of doing things differently.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot of what our ongoing training is about, is forming habits, not just knowing stuff.
Right. And if you fall off the wagon, like on a diet or going to church or whatever, just get back on it.
Get back on. And it's easier to get back on since you've been doing it versus getting the momentum
Yeah.
to start going to church if you've never gone, or to diet if you've never dieted. That's always harder, but once you've been doing it, then it's easier to kind of get back on the bike and start pedaling again.
Yeah, most definitely. So, so your key takeaways here are definitely being disciplined
Yeah.
and regimented.
Enough to get the habit.
Right.
You know, it's interesting. A lot of times people will say, "Yeah, I'm just not disciplined." I'm saying, "Well, you don't have to be disciplined forever. You just have to be disciplined long enough to form the habit."
Right.
So, because some people will say, "I'm disciplined." I go, "You know, I'm not." And talk to my wife, you know, but about things that are important to me and that really, you know, make a difference, I've formed good habits.
Right.
And that can take anywhere from 58 days on the short end to nearly a year.
Wow.
It's not 21. A lot of people,
Yeah,
I think that's
21.
done a lot of harm because people, I don't have the habit, there must be something wrong with me. It's like, no, nothing wrong with you. You just need to stick at it a little longer until it's second nature.
Right. Or for me personally, I'm always working to improve myself and my skills and what I do. So I'm always honing my discipline.
Yes.
And I do things, and hopefully I'm learning to work smarter and not harder.
Yes, and it's easier to
you know,
do
through
that
the
when you
years.
have momentum.
Yeah.
Because then you're just like changing like one thing instead of four things. So when you're continually improving, that's the way to go, because those changes are easier to make because you already have momentum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what are some other things is there some other key things that people need to do to improve
So that,
their
you know,
sales skills?
the habit thing has more to do with behaviors. You know, just are the behaviors that I'm doing day in and day out, are they supporting me or are they not supporting me?
Right.
And I think a lot of people don't even think about it. They just kind of do what they do. And, you know, in sales, it kind of attracts, you don't need to be this type of personality, but it kind of attracts an outgoing person. Well, outgoing people tend to just kind of wing it, you know. So
Yeah, I'm a fly by my seat of the pants.
yeah, well, that
kinda
makes
gal.
two of us. And there's probably some people out there going, "Oh my God, really?" I'm like, "Yeah." But
I'm a disciplined fly by the seat of the pants.
but you probably like really, for lack of a better word, kind of battered yourself into shape. It wasn't natural to you, but over time you've battered yourself into shape. So that's the behavioral part. But then the other thing that's really interesting are attitudes, not like positive person, negative person,
Yeah.
but more, you know,
Believing in yourself.
right, and believing that it's okay to be a salesperson. Because I statistically ask this a lot, and let's just call it 85 to 90% of the people that are currently full-time sales making their living never dreamt they would ever do it.
Well, that's probably true, because most people, it's kind of like getting up and speaking in front of people. They have a fear of
Yes.
rejection. But you know, you have to switch that around. Well, I'm closer to a yes. That old
Yes.
philosophy,
Yeah,
or
and those are
just
attitudes.
perseverance and knowing that. Or you have to believe in what you do, like you said. Like
Yeah.
if you don't believe in what you do, then you probably
You
are
got
not
one,
going to.
that's one arm tied behind your back, and then if you don't believe in yourself, then you got two arms
Or
tied
your
behind your
product.
back. Yeah, or your product. So, but
And I think too, what a lot of salespeople don't know is what differentiates you. Because a lot of times, if you ask salespeople, you get the deer in the headlights look. So I think that for me personally, I need to know, how do I differ from my competitors? What do we do well?
yeah, or they'll say
or,
something
you know.
that's kind of vague, like service, and everybody's like, everybody says that, you know. So
Yeah.
it doesn't really lend itself that what you just said was unique.
Exactly.
But those attitudes, because most people didn't plan to be in sales, they kind of carry a little bit of baggage with them, you know. And so part of it is, if you're 25 years old and you've ever been called on by a salesperson, you've had this happen. You know, they just full court press, won't take no for an answer, you know, putting a lot of pressure on you. But the reality of it, that's such a small percentage, but yet we've all experienced it.
Oh yeah.
And
All
so-
day long.
yeah.
I think Paige fields calls, don't you?
Yeah. So, you know, if Paige got into sales, she'd like, well, I know what I don't want. I don't want to be like that person. But what happens is, it's first of all, most of us don't even have in our DNA to be that person. I mean, like, it couldn't happen.
Although I think there are a few people that are naturally just,
It's a
you know.
small percentage.
Yeah. Is it
Yeah.
pretty small? That's
Our,
kind of good to know.
You know, we've worked with over 3,600 salespeople in the last
Wow.
25 years, and hands down, they're not assertive enough. Hands
And
down.
I believe that, but that's
Yeah.
interesting. I didn't know that was such a small number. So
It's
are people
really small.
taught to be like that then, or is that not
No,
the
that's
correct way to
just
really
kind
go
of their,
about it?
well, first of all,
Or they're getting
that's-
desperate.
They're wired
They're
like
wired.
that, and then depending on who they work for, it's reinforced. You know, like you know, and so they're kind of looking for that. But most people can't continue that on a long-term basis,
Yeah.
week in and week out, because they're just not wired that way. I mean, it's like single-digit percentages.
Yeah.
But because those are the ones we remember, unfortunately, then the rest of us tend to be too passive because we don't want to be that, even though there's no way I could be that.
Right.
So it's like this fear that can't even happen is holding me back.
Wow.
So those attitudes could be things
That's
like,
kind of interesting
you
philosophy.
know, like you don't interrupt people. You know, and part of this was how we were raised in school too. I mean, I went to a Catholic school, and you know, I mean, you couldn't even go up to a teacher or a nun and interrupt them until they absolutely stopped talking, and then they looked at you.
Give you the cue.
And if you did, you got disciplined.
Yo, ruler.
Exactly. Either on the playground or when you got back in the in the
Or
classroom.
home.
Yeah, and same with mine. But here's the thing: we were children, which is fair, but now we're not children,
Right.
and we're adults calling on adults. So there's times that you do need to interrupt a prospect or a client. There's times you might be at a networking event and you've wanted to meet this person for like 4 years and they're there. And if I've got Sister Mary Francis telling me you can't go up there until they're not talking to anybody, I'm probably not going to meet them that night.
Because there is etiquette in social networking. You know, you just kind of come up and kind of edge in a little bit, but not enough to be rude, but try to make that eye contact, or somebody will, you come on in.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's technique too. You know, it could be like, and that's the last part. So there's behavior, attitudes, and technique. And then the technique is, you know, I want to apologize for interrupting you, but I've been wanting to meet you for a long time. Is there any chance we could talk tonight? And if I need to back off and then let them finish, that's fine. But they know I want to talk to them.
Right.
And did I interrupt them? Absolutely. But was I rude or obnoxious? No.
And everybody knows that, because I mean, you know, that's what you're there for.
You think?
I mean,
you think they do, but they don't.
Oh, some people get really.
They just
maybe I've
don't.
offended people I didn't even know.
No. Well, someone's out there going, I didn't know. So no, it's amazing. Because it just depends how you were raised.
Right.
And what all your life experiences. So.
Yeah.
And then owning a business too gives you a certain swagger that you don't have when you're, not to take this the wrong way, when you're just in sales. There's just a posture that you have earned, believe me.
Yeah, that's some stuff that you think, when I'm out, I'm thinking, I only have so much time in my day, and it's not that I meet, and I would never just go and be rude, but it's just, that's the way I learned to think, because I just, you know.
This is my chance.
This is my chance,
and this may not happen again, and I may never be to this networking thing again, and I've got, you know, 6 other things that need to be done by, you know, 10 o'clock tonight, in addition to this. So we always have that sense of urgency that if all I did was just have one job and that was it and I wasn't running the company, I feel like I have more time.
It's definitely not the small business owner.
Yeah, so that's another thing. You know, people start their own business and about a year into it, they go, oh my gosh, I just bought myself a sales job. How'd this happen? I had no idea. No one told me. Like, well, yeah, that's how it works.
It is until you can hire people.
Business.
Or for me, when I started out, I would, you know, hit the ground, sales calls, then I'd get a job, I'd be like, oh geez. Then I'd be on a job for like a week, you know. Then I'd have to get back on the sales, and you're back and forth, you know, and until you can get off, well, as we say, get off your truck.
Yes.
Where I guess in a business where you're not like literally working in the field, it's.
That's right.
I don't know how you'd word it if you had like some kind of company.
It's interesting until companies.
You don't have to actually do work.
You know, as a figurehead, you're going to get business just from the nature of being a figurehead. So you never really get out of it. Now, what you might do is refer it on to someone internally. But sometimes people are like, I don't want to be referred on. You know, can you help me with
sometimes,
this?
I mean, I still today, I mean, I don't get out in the field like I used to, unfortunately, and but I have people call in and they want to talk to me because they were used to dealing with me, when, you know, back in the day, and that's why they still give business to us, because they believe in how we do business. And sometimes you have to extend that courtesy that that person obviously appreciates you, and I appreciate them. So
and
I get that too, and I'm going to talk to them.
Not really high maintenance people. I mean, it's more of like a posture thing. They can make decisions on behalf of themselves, and they want to work with people who can make decisions on behalf of the company, rather than having to go back and forth.
Right.
You know, I mean, I'm sure you wouldn't appreciate this if you went to a car dealership, and you start talking, and he keeps going back and forth. I know, so you're like, stop.
Yeah, I've had enough.
This cannot happen anymore. You need to bring this guy out, and we're going to talk, or I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Because I'm not playing this game. I don't have time for this. I can make a decision whether I'm going to buy this car. You obviously can't make a decision whether I can buy the car.
Right.
So you need to step aside and bring this person out. But now a lot of people will just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Oh gosh.
Because
I don't have
they
patience
just don't
for
know.
that.
Right. But you own a business.
Or if there's a problem, like I've had where they step around, my PMs or whoever, because they come to me. But I appreciate that, because I need to know.
Yeah.
You know, if there's a problem or some
and not
customer
everybody
service
does
issue.
that. If they did, we'd have a problem. But some certain people are just like, that is not what I'm going to tolerate.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, very interesting. And then they say too, you know, it's about, depending on your business, but building relationships. You know, LinkedIn is a great way to go around, or just using people that you know to know those people that you don't have access to. So I think sales has changed. It's not like the traveling salesman door to door in the old days, and so I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes then.
A lot of changes. Yeah, you know, so
years.
I've been selling personally since 1990, so I guess that's 20, what year is this? 29 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, it has changed, but it's more about how you get in front of them and what they know before you get in front of them. Because in minutes, I can do quite a bit of research on you and have a sense of what you've done, who you know, what awards you've won, and it's not that hard, because even though
it's everywhere.
even though I did program computers, I'm not really that great anymore, but I can do it. And if I can do it, just Google your name. Oh yeah. And so that is, when they come to us, they're more familiar. And then with LinkedIn, as you described, even if we're not connected, if I see that, there's people that I have like 450 connections with, I'm like, how have we not met? Right. How can we have that many people in common, and I have no idea who you are, and they don't know who I am? But
because you don't really know all the
right.
thousands of
but
people.
If you think about it, if this person and I have 450 in common, they're probably okay. Yeah. I'm not going, oh my gosh, I better not talk to you. I'm thinking, wow. And especially when I see who those people are, I'm like, okay, so they've already got a good housekeeping seal of approval until they prove otherwise.
So I think what you're saying too is a lot of times just people don't take advantage of all the ease of connections to open the door.
It's minutes.
It is really, and I'm guilty of not getting on LinkedIn probably like I should. It's just dividing your time up.
And that's back to a habit. Anytime I meet someone, I immediately go on LinkedIn, I print out their profile, and it's just amazing how when they're talking. Now I'm a visual learner too, so
I think most people are.
Yeah, most are. So part of it is I have a hard time following if they're talking about like 3 different things in a row, and I'm like, now where and what? But if I have their LinkedIn profile, it's just like boom, boom, boom. Yeah. And then it allows me to ask better questions because I can see all of it instead of just what they told me.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So it just makes everything, like you said, it's hard work, but working smarter by having that information, right, and being able to talk about it at the first meeting instead of it eking out at the second or third meeting.
So you've helped. You said 3,600
together. Yeah, we've had 3,600. Sales professionals.
So can you come up with maybe some, distinct success stories? You privacy you may want to give names
and I won't
say
names because I didn't know you were going to ask that, even though most of them wouldn't care, but
right. No, I get that.
If this is public now.
Right, it is.
Yeah.
What isn't public anymore?
I know, it's true. But probably the main thing, it's interesting, some people, it's a huge, third base hit if they can just get 10% more business. And there are others, if they don't double their business, it's not even a first base hit. Wow. So the thing that's tricky about this when people ask us, what to expect, is in the beginning, it has a lot to do with what they expect. Because, we're walking up alongside you and we're, co-laboring with you, but we're not doing the work. Right. And so part of the things that we've seen, we've had, this doesn't happen very often, but we assess people before they work with us. They have to assess them because they want us to help them. But if they're, I don't know how to say this, but if they just don't have the stuff, throwing money at us really doesn't help that much. Right. So I'm going to give you an example. If someone has an ambition and drive score of a 24, anything 29 or less is like an opportunity for development. 60 or higher is a strength. So they're a long way. So even if we help them 20% more effective, which sounds pretty good, they're still only at, 24? They're still only at 29. Yeah. So what makes some people so much lower score, like 24 versus 60? Is it just natural gifts, personalities? A little both. It's a nurture and a nature. Yeah. And so I'm not saying that they're bad people. Right. No, it's just maybe they don't have an aptitude for
probably
sales. Probably not shouldn't be in sales. Right. Because you just have to be so much more self-directed. Even if you're not an entrepreneur, the best salespeople see themselves as entrepreneurs. They see it as their business. They have that sense of urgency. Because if you don't, for me, I always worked in all commission sales. Right. Which helped me when I started a business because I can guarantee you I didn't make a penny. I had a project manager tell me, he's like, what? You didn't make any money for 3 years? I'm like, no, I didn't. Because Alan kept his job. And we made money, but I didn't pay myself. I should correct that out there. Our company was bringing in revenues, but I wasn't paying sometimes you're the last one to get paid in the beginning.
And
Yeah.
it's a lot of sacrifice, but I knew we had money coming in the door, but I
Well,
had
and you had
learned years ago.
experienced that before, so that wasn't new.
Right. Although I didn't like it, but
Yeah, you
wasn't
never
fun.
want to like it, because if you like it, then that's another issue. That's an attitude.
Yeah.
So few times we've had people that really thought they had to let this person go, and what they needed was just someone to help them not treat the symptoms, but get to the root of it,
Right.
and to just have someone besides the person there who couldn't give them a lot of time to walk alongside them.
Because
So
sometimes
that-
it's just asking for the
Yeah.
business too, and I think I've been guilty of that in the past, just being afraid to, and
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. Like you're going to offend somebody, but they know what you're doing, why you're there.
Yeah.
Right?
And
They want, actually, people want to be sold.
Sometimes some people do want to be sold.
Yeah.
But most of them want to kind of discover it, and it to
Right.
be their idea. And so that's one thing where we've salvaged some people. Now, in other cases, we've helped companies just look, this just isn't going to get any better.
For that particular salesperson,
Yeah.
or maybe their method of doing business and
Yeah,
getting
so it
the
allowed
sales.
them to just, have the confidence to say, this isn't working. They're a fine person, just not a good resource for our company.
Right.
And it allowed them then to get another person in that was a better fit, and we assessed them before they came on as opposed to after the fact.
Right.
And then you've got people, the best stories are the people who are doing well, but they just have that constant need to just do better. But they kind of hit a threshold or a plateau. And if, from all intents and purposes, you would look at them going, why would you do sales training, or why would you invest in being a
You're
coach?
already a superstar.
You're already a superstar, but those are the people that just always want to be the best.
That's me.
Yeah.
It's never.
So what's interesting about them is, frankly, they don't have to do that much different, and they don't have to, and it can literally double their business, because there's just these couple little things that are blind spots for them.
Yeah.
Or just having someone say, I know you think $500,000 is a lot, but I just can't, we just have to help you realize that maybe that threshold should be $2 million for you instead of $500,000, because that's an attitude, that's
Right.
a comfort zone. So if we can help people move through comfort zones, then in a year or 6 months or 18 months, however long it takes, now what used to feel my comfort zone was $500,000 is now $2 million.
Right.
So you can imagine, if I can just see it that way, I'm going to attract. And let's face it, a $2 million deal isn't necessarily 4 times as hard as a $500,000.
Right, which is why we're trying to go after the commercial work.
Yeah. In fact, sometimes it's actually easier,
Yeah.
because they
exactly.
have people that know what they're doing, and so then you can get in there and you can really help them easier and make more money.
Right. Do you ever come across situations where, let's say, somebody works for, is a realtor or maybe a financial services person, they're all commission, and they're happy with where they're at. They want to balance their family life. They've got kids in sports. They don't want to be working all the extra hours entertaining, but yet the company or the broker or whatever is pushing them to do more. I mean, because I do respect people that if they're good with their income and they have life balance, I call that a success story. It
That's
depends.
right.
Success is different for everybody. So how do you handle situations
Yeah, so that's really
like
tricky. So one of the things that we are going for, and we don't always get it, but you got to know what you're going for to potentially get it, is we want the salespeople's goals to be at or above what the company's is for them. And if it's flip-flopped, it's crazy land.
So maybe they need to look for another company, or
Well,
that's hard to
sometimes-
say. They build a book of business. You don't want to.
Yeah, so sometimes what happens with someone who's been successful and comfortable is they've kind of lost sight of goals and dreams. So a lot of times, instead of just saying you need to sell more because the company wants you to, which is icky,
Yeah.
instead we might say, hey, look, you're doing great, but like sometimes the gap is, I'm making good money, but I'm working 45 hours a week, and I'd prefer to work 35 hours a week. So back to your
Right.
balance, that's still a gap.
Wow.
So what can happen is most of the time we can have them get both, because all of us are doing things every day that are not supportive of us being the best we can be, but we just do them. So if we can start to redirect some of that and have goals like the best things in life are free, but a lot of times it costs money to have fun.
It does.
So
Damn it.
it's like someone might be comfortable and but then they're going, but our oldest is going to graduate from high school pretty soon. We'd really like to just go on one of these really kick butt vacations, you know, and we could do it now, but we'd have to put a lot on the credit card. So it's like, okay, let's take that energy.
Yeah.
And let's see how can we have you take that trip and do it up nicely, like 8,000, 10,000, but not have to put it on a credit card.
Right.
And
just make
you know,
those few extra sales or
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Or maybe even talk to the kids and say, hey, for us to go on this trip, you know, we try to keep our kids accountable all the time. Well, they love to keep you accountable. You know, if you have younger kids.
When you're footing the bill.
Yeah, so they go, you know,
Dad,
if
we
you
gotta
said,
go on that trip,
I'm going to
man.
do 6 calls a day, you know, and then they'll come home, did you make your calls? It's just, you know, because we want to go to Disneyland, you know.
I get enough of that at work, I'm sorry.
Or it could be a spouse, you know, because sometimes spouses, one is kind of capped at their income. It is what it is. They get just, the other one has more potential, and but they also have more downside.
Yeah.
So that's stressful. But let's turn the positive into it too, that if we want to do something or renovate a home or renovate a kitchen or, you know, we can do that when you're in a commission sales environment.
Yeah.
You can't necessarily do that.
A lot of people are afraid of not having that regular paycheck, but I learned you make a lot more money on all commission. You just have to you're always on that treadmill.
Yes.
Woo, you know, you got a lot of sales and you get paid and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to get something in the pipeline. And, you know, you just got to have that hustle.
And so that's another
it's a mindset, you know.
habit that is really hard for people to get. But there's rarely a day that I don't prospect. I mean, it has to be like just, you know.
On vacation, literally.
Well, yeah, all those. And when I'm off, I'm off. Like if it's a day off or whatever. And so I factor in how much I need to do based on the days I'm working. But there's just days, let's face it, it's just, you know, a blank show. And it's all you can do to just, but I don't give myself a break. Like, so I do 5 new attempts a day.
Wow.
So if I have one of those days and I do 0, I just need to make sure that 25 a week. But as long as it's within a week, it's not a problem. You know, no one got hurt. But when you start to get out a month, a quarter, a year, it's a problem.
Yeah. What is a favorite quote or book that you like? You feel like me, I have about hundreds of favorite quotes. But
Yeah. Well, one quote I just heard recently, and it's so true. Darren Hardy, who is, he's the former publisher of Success Magazine, and he has his own company now for the past 3 years. But he has a Darren Daily. It's just a 5 to 7 minute video, typically. And he said, just in the last couple weeks, whatever you don't want to do is probably what you need to do.
That's probably true. Because
So,
you want to push that off. Yeah, I've been guilty.
I mean, it can be in our marriages, raising kids, business, you know, and it's just like, oh, I don't want to do that. Oh, that's going to be so uncomfortable. But that's the key to, you know, going from $500,000 to $2 million, you know, just that comfort zone. And so continually working on expanding our comfort zone.
Yeah, because if you don't get outside your comfort, you never grow.
Right.
And do something that's, actually there's a quote by Eleanor Roosevelt was, you must do something every day that you're afraid to do, or something like that. Or
you're right.
You know, you must try. Because, I mean, everybody has their fears, and everything that I've been fearful of and I've done, and then once you get through it, you're like, oh, wasn't that bad?
Yeah.
You know.
Our imagination is typically way worse than reality. And then along those lines is recently I've been, you know, we're not empty nesters, but our youngest graduated from high school, so we're getting there.
We call it the happy dance.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the things that, you know, raising 4 kids, and we just basically kind of gave over our lives for 12 years to their activities. Our friends kind of came from that, and, you know, but one of the things I realized was that, you know, I need to develop some more hobbies, you know, because that 4 kids in sports for all those years.
Yeah, I've been there.
There was, you know,
1 kid in sports.
I frankly just
4 kids in sports.
I frankly just didn't really foster my own hobbies.
Right.
But
you don't have the time.
Yeah, and it was, you know, and I wanted to be at their stuff. So it wasn't like I'm sitting there disappointed and mad or anything. I'm just like, hey, this is a season, and this season is super important. I'm never going to get to do this again.
Right.
And I loved it, and I'm going to miss it, but it's over.
Right.
So one of the things that that's sort of supplementing this is be a white belt at something. You know, and I think as we get older and we get really good at things, it's really easy to just kind of stay in a little black belt world because it's comfortable and everybody goes, oh my gosh, you're so good at that. We're getting all these compliments and all that. But the problem is our comfort zone is not expanding. And so if our comfort zone isn't expanding, it's shrinking.
Right, which is
There's-
that scares me.
There's no status quo.
Yeah, because I don't want to be an active sitting around watching TV 20 years from now. Every day when we're retired,
Or even
what
just
have
that you're
you,
doing this
I want to
Facebook
be,
Live.
yeah, I want to be doing things like this or whatever.
30-year-olds are like, yeah, sure, we'll do that, and people
Yeah.
our age are like, what's Facebook Live?
Now
And
we know.
Not only do you know what it is, but you're actually doing something with it.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's
Yeah.
you had to be a white belt at this
Yeah.
before you could do it. And so
Exactly.
what that does is it expands your comfort zone. It gives you more confidence because you know you can do different things. You know, technology alone
Oh, it's
is
amazing.
why we don't have status quo.
Yeah.
If you're where you were this year, like last year, you have fallen behind.
Yeah. It's actually
You're,
kind of
you're
scary.
not even,
but
you've fallen behind.
yeah.
So those, and then there's two books that's sort of similar but different. One is, Darren Hardy actually has a book on this called The Compound Effect. And it's basically, and the other one's called Slide Edge by Olson is his last name, O-L-S-O-N. But anyway, it's about compound interest on our behaviors, much like you would get compound interest on your money, and how over time it really, the snowball is big.
Yeah. I can totally
So
see
those
that.
books both support that.
Well, your life's what you make it.
Paying attention to the little things, not just
Little
the big things. Yeah.
That is so true. So how do people get in touch with you that want to increase their sales or their business revenues?
So yeah, phone's still okay.
You can still call.
You can still call. I will answer. 913-451-1760. Again, 913-451-1760. Email is just D, like Daniel, first name, last name Stalp, dstalp@sandler.com. And then I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm the only Dan Stalp in the whole world, so if you can't find me, I can't help you.
You are the Dan
I
Stalp.
am the only Dan Stalp in the
Literally.
whole world. So yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
if you can't find me, I don't know what to say to that. I probably can't help you. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, and then I'll just say too, a lot of times sales training is done like you probably can't see, but Stephanie's in really good shape, and that did not happen in a 2-hour workout, 1 2-hour workout, and that did not happen in 2 8-hour days back to back either, right?
No,
Okay.
not at all.
So I just want to make this little transition. That's how sales training historically was done. 2
Little step
hours
at a time.
or 2 days, heavy duty, and then it stopped.
Right. I've been to
So-
trainings like that.
Yeah, most of us have. And again, I'm
Yeah.
not knocking that, and I would say do that. But if you really want to get in shape and stay in shape, that's not enough.
No, it's just learning and improving your skills every day.
Because it was behavior modification for
Yes.
you, wasn't it?
Yes.
And we didn't talk about this, but hopefully I'm not putting you on the spot. But I can almost guarantee that you have some habits that maybe you didn't have when you were 25 and you could
Oh
eat,
gosh.
do whatever you want.
Oh Lord, no. No, I always could eat whatever I wanted, never gained weight, and then, get into late 40s, and then you're like, what? Can I eat
Yep.
anything anymore? And
Yeah,
then I went
can
through,
I eat anything
yeah.
anymore?
Can I even eat? I
I
don't
look
know.
at water and I put on weight. I mean, I don't know, but
It's hard.
But but the point is that you had to modify your behaviors. But once you got in the habit, like when you go up to food, you've probably trained yourself that
It's just not worth it.
Well, I'm just going to go to the fruit, and now you like fruit or vegetables or whatever. And before you went to chips and the meatballs and
Yeah, the spaghetti and the fettuccine
Right.
Alfredo and
so that's
gummy bears that I still.
Yeah, I like gummy bears too.
Like my little
If pot's ever
Yum.
legal, that's the way I'm going to do it.
gummy bear fest.
I mean, what's not to like?
Well, I so appreciate you coming on my show
That was fun.
and educating everybody, and we'll have to do it again.
Yeah, I would love that.
All right. Well, thank you again
You bet.
so
Thank
much.
you. You bet.
All right. Thank you, everybody.